5 seconds to go. If you scan the history of the railways in this country, you will see that it was the presidency towns Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta that determined the pattern of our railways as well as of our industrial and economic growth. The British, when they landed in this country, established trading centers called forts in Madras. It was Fort St. George. In Calcutta, it was Fort St. Williams. And in Bombay, it was merely a fort, and there was one in Surat also. It is these trading establishments which determine the pattern of government, the pattern of administration, and every other pattern under the British regime. They constructed the railways, they established the industries, they located their armies with reference to these three presidency towns. This idea of the presidency towns determining the pattern of our social structure, industrial advancement, and the system of our railway still persists. That is the mental lag that is hampering the vision of the Planning Commission, the Railway Board, and the Railway Ministry. Sir, once I happened to travel from London to Rome by train. Another time, I had to travel from Moscow to Leningrad by train. Now, nowhere did I find on the continent of Europe lines of varying breadth. It is all a uniform gaze. So is it in Russia? It may be 6 feet there. In America, in every industrially advanced country, you find that the gaze is uniform. This very country which ruled us, namely the United Kingdom, had inside its border a uniform gaze, but they inflicted three systems of gaze on India. They thought that that would perpetuate what is called their domination, or in the negative sense, that it would impede the industrial and economic growth of India. Secondly, it would make India always the customer and purchaser lines and locomotives and rolling stock from the United States, United Kingdom. In the old days, I am told it is the government which built the broad gauge line, and it is the private companies that look to this meter gauge and the narrow gauge. Though they may not have had the distinction of private and public sector in view, then it now appears that what the so called public sector then did has been good, and what the private sector then did has been to our disadvantage. I would appeal to these agencies to introduce a uniform gaze throughout India. In this connection, it will be interesting to note the talk of the Honorable Railway Minister, about the schools, primary schools, higher secondary schools, and high schools for the Indian Railways. If you examine the previous speech of the Railway Minister and also the working report of the Railway Board, you will find that the same figure is repeated every year. I have examined the figures and I find that this year only 16 schools have been added, out of which 13 are primary schools, one is a higher secondary schools, and two are middle or high schools. Instead of saying that they have been able only to provide 13 primary schools or one or two more high schools or higher secondary schools, the same figures are repeated in the speech. Although the railway board has all along been saying that education is the responsibility of the state and therefore the railway board does not own this responsibility, I would like to remind the railway minister about the agreement reached between the National Federation of Railwaymen and the Railway Board in the year 1955, according to which the Railway Board undertook to provide primary schools for the education of the children of railway employees. Sir, as I told you earlier, I had to say many things on the floor of this house, but I will conclude with only one or two more observations. I will first deal with the labor relations on the Indian Railways. I slightly differ from my honorable friend when he quoted me as saying that the permanent negotiating machinery has completely failed. It is a fact that this machinery is not functioning satisfactorily. At certain places, it has failed. There is no doubt about it. But I would say in this house, most frankly, that at the board's level, this machinery has been working successfully. But this is not the position so far as the zonal railways are concerned. I do not say that in all the zonal railways it is so, but in certain zonal railways and in most of the divisions of these railways it has failed. I was expecting that the railway machinery would examine the working of this machinery in all the railways. What is the greatest defect in this machinery? This machinery suffers to the extent that at the board level, if there is difference of opinion between the railway board and the railway labor, no arbitration machinery is provided to settle the disputes. The provision in this machinery is that as and when an occasion arises, an ad hoc tribunal would be set up by government